What's up, folks? Welcome to the Talking Points podcast, presented by the Smoking Section. I'm your host, Raj Anand, and today we have a very special episode for you guys. Our guest today is the CEO of a quickly up-and-coming label out of LA. They have 4 flagship artists, each very, very unique and very talented in their own right. They believe in doing things their own way, not necessarily hopping on trends or, I've never heard them freestyle over the hottest beat of the month or anything like that. They kind of move to the sound of their own drum, and they have one of the strongest and most organic fan bases I have ever seen, probably second to Tech Nine and Strange Music. The artists on the label are Hobson, Dizzy Wright, Jaron Benton, and Swizz. And by now you probably know the name of the label, which is Funk Volume. And our guest today is Dame Ritter, the CEO of the label. Welcome, Dame. Thank you so much for coming out here.
What's up, Raj?
How's it going, Dame?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming out. Everyone knows you're a very educated man. You come from a strong business background. How did you go from there to making the jump into music?
It wasn't really intentional. Swizz approached me with the opportunity after I got laid off from my consulting gig at the end of 2008, because at that time I was, just kind of figuring out what my next move was. Swizz was going to UC Irvine at the time, and he was like, "Dame, I'm not really feeling this whole school thing. I really want to take music seriously." He had a friend at the time named Hobson who was in his deal with Ruthless Records but was frustrated with his situation. He already had the idea for Funk Volume, already had the name, was actually already kind of repping it. He wanted to do his own thing, so I met up with him and I decided to do everything on the business end. They would take care of the creative, and we would just keep it rocking.
Are you the person who got Hobson out of his deal with Ruthless?
Nah, a lawyer did that, but it was just a matter of waiting. We just had to wait a certain amount of time, wait to see if Ruthless would pick up the option on his second album. And since they didn't pick up the option, the lawyer just sent in the paperwork, and we haven't heard from him since.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Keep it that way.
Yep.
So Swizz is your brother.
Yep.
Has there ever been any kind of, I guess, a conflict of interest between that, you being his brother, him as an artist? Has that ever happened? Has there ever been a concern of that?
No, we butt heads for sure. Almost come to blows at times, get in arguments
like any sibling would do.
Yeah. But in turn, not really a conflict of interest. I want all artists to just be able to create the music they want to create and grow as an artist in the way they want to grow.
Right.
So there's definitely not a conflict of interest, but it is tough. Our relationship has gotten a lot better over the past few years. But definitely some rocky times when you're dealing with family and business at the same time. Right.
For
totally. Sure.
Do you think digital distribution is more important than physical distribution nowadays?
Yeah. It's more important, but I think, we won't stop printing CDs, but, most people are listening to music digitally. So, I would say digital is more important. Yeah, for sure.
'Cause, I was reading up an article on Common's album, and they were saying how it was a really, really strong album, but their marketing plan focused almost strictly digital.
Uh-huh.
And because Common's fan base is not definitely not the same kind of audience demographics as Funk Volume would be. Right. They're kind of more the older heads who want to go out and get their CDs from like a Best Buy or a Target or whatnot. And I think physical ads were really limited, and physical distribution was limited also. And as a result, his sales, I think it was his lowest selling album of his career.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, I think that they should fire whoever made. I mean, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
You know, you get somebody coming from the time where CDs were booming, and you try to switch them over to just digital. I mean, that's just ridiculously dumb, and whoever decided to do that should be fired ASAP. I know that I haven't heard the album yet, but I know that Common had some cats on there that are younger guys that are featured on the album, so he's trying to
trying to appeal to that demographic,
with the younger demographic, and that's cool. But yeah, that's just completely stupid, and like I said, whoever decided to make that decision
on the
is
chopping
a
block,
complete idiot and doesn't deserve a job. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Let's see. So as the CEO, you kind of manage most, if not all, of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on, because music, I mean, the actual physical music that comes out is, I mean, scratching the surface of what goes on in a label, and I mean, it's just the top layer,
right?
You know, like what parts of your job do you love to do? What parts do you hate, and but you still have to do?
What parts do I love? I mean, I love building a relationship with the guys, and just, you know, the overall strategy of the label. You know, monitoring the direction, making sure we're on the right course. You know, the day-to-day is kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say it's fun. I wouldn't say I hate it either. It's just a lot of emails. It's a lot of communication. You know, there's a lot of things moving at once, especially when you got 4 artists who, with the exception of Swizz right now, they're all pretty active. So there's shows, you know, they need new merch. You know, they want to start working on new music. You know, they want to do videos. You know, so making sure all of that's getting organized and communicating with all the different pieces, whether it's the videographers, whether it's our publicists or our business manager. I mean, there's just so many different moving parts, because you got to realize, like, running a record label is actually like 5 businesses in one. Right. So, you got the music, but then you also got the merch, that you're a clothing line, you know, you're managing the artists. Right. So, you know, you're a management company. You have the publishing side of the business. You know, and touring, if I didn't say that already, you have the touring as well. So you're really running 5 or 6 different businesses. So, you know, you just have to spend a lot of time organizing everything and making sure the communication is flowing and things are getting done. And it's a very difficult thing to do, but you know, I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
We put together a pretty good team, you know. So
how big is the staff now?
Well, we don't really have any full-time staff. Like, I have an assistant. She works, you know, fairly full-time. And then, you know, we have a business manager. They work on a percentage of sales.
Gotcha. Incentive-based.
Yeah. Publicist works on a retainer. Lawyer, trying to get him on a retainer. And then we have a website guy that we pay. He's on a retainer as well. But that's pretty much the team.
And then the artists and producers.
Yeah. The artists and the producers. So we stay pretty lean. Don't have a physical space. No need to waste money on that overhead just yet.
No overhead costs.
You know, because we don't have predictable revenue yet. Like I can't even tell you what's gonna come out next.
Right.
You know, I know the guys are working on stuff, but you know, that's just the way we've operated. Kind of the guys let me know when they want to put out stuff, and then, you know, start working around that. So we kind of have to stay lean.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we're doing well financially. We could move into a spot, but like I said, there's no reason to take on that overhead.
Exactly. That's always been, I mean, I've thought about leaving the day job and doing something in music full time too, but that's always been the biggest hindrance for me, is that lack of a steady income, especially up front.
Right.
When you start up, it's brave to take that jump.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and I talk to a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, and it's really, you know, you just, it's your side hustle until it proves itself, you know. So even with Funk Volume, I put in over 3 years before it was like my actual full time. Right. I was still doing, you know, consulting projects on the side. I was working for this event planning company at one point. I was doing some consulting for this online video chat company at one point. So I still, you know, did other things to help pay the bills until, you know, Funk Volume was able to do that. So I think that's the approach that entrepreneurs just have to take. But at some point you do got to jump.
Right.
You know. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You mentioned all of the artists are active, minus Swizz right now. What's Swizz been up to?
Swizz just been dealing with some personal issues, man. You know, a lot of fans don't understand that these artists, they're people too. They go through a lot of the same issues. You know, fighting. You know, whether you get depressed or what. You know, there's a lot of pressure when you're an artist and you kind of step out into that limelight.
Yeah.
You know, and some people just aren't ready. They'll be able to handle it eventually, but sometimes people it's not for everybody, or it takes a while to get adjusted to that.
Definitely.
You know, so I want every artist on Funk Volume to move at the pace that they're comfortable.
Right.
So if somebody doesn't feel like they're ready to really step out there, because they're dealing with certain things, then that's cool. You know, we're at a point now where that is cool. At one point, you know, both Hobson and my brother were going through things, and then that wasn't cool because it was like, you know, I got a label, got no artist putting out anything.
Exactly.
You know, what are we doing? But, you know, now that we have artists that are moving, and, you know, it's easier for me to step back and say, look, you know, just take your time. You know, everything will happen when it's supposed to happen. Everybody's on a different journey. You know, it's all good.
Do you think going through those kinds of trials and tribulations is going to impact his music positively?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. You know, I hope so. I hope he's learned, even if he hasn't been putting out music. I know he has been making music, and I know that, you know, he has been getting better.
Yeah.
You know, so when Swizz does come through, you know, I think people will be, you know, pleased with what he's doing, because he is talented, and he's a different voice. He has a different perspective. You know, and I think that it's needed for Funk Volume, you know, because every artist is different, and Swizz is definitely different from the rest, and you know, he's really gonna help us moving forward.
Totally. Tell me about Funk Volume in the community, and what that initiative is, and why it's a big part of what you do.
Yeah, Funk Volume in the community is our community service initiative. Basically, what we do is we just identify an event that's already going on in the LA area, and then we just bring hands to it, and we'll help promote it, and we'll bring hands to it and try to get out as many people. You know, a lot of the events target the youth or the homeless, and we just try to use our influence to bring out more people to assist in those efforts. It's that was my idea. It's very important to me. I think it's very important that, you know, people that have been blessed give back to those that are less fortunate. And that's just been ingrained in me since, you know, coming up through college, being a part of a fraternity, you know, just being a part of different community service initiatives. You know, I just thought that Funk Volume, you know, especially with the influence that we have now, we can do a lot of positive things, and
it's only gonna get bigger.
You know, yeah. So eventually we're gonna turn it into an actual nonprofit.
Okay.
You know, and hopefully we'll have days where other cities can participate too, or where other cities are encouraged to participate. You know, we'll just designate a certain day, even if it's not an organized event. You know, just encourage kids to, I don't know, help somebody across the street that day, or you know, give $1 to somebody in need. Whatever it is, it'd be dope. I think if we just establish a day a month, you know, start with a day a month, and then hopefully the idea of just giving back just starts to resonate with people, and you start to implement that in your everyday life, because that's what it's really about. I mean, the organizations that we help, you know, they appreciate it. But what I do is, and I promote it online. I mean, I want to promote it so that kids just get that in their head, that it's important that you give back to people that are less fortunate. You know, especially if you've been blessed to be in a more stable environment. So it's just important. I think we have a huge opportunity. Hip hop has a lot of influence with young people, and you know, I want to continue to do that.
Totally. What frat were you in college?
Alpha Phi Alpha.
Alpha Phi. Which one is that? Is that a Delta Sig? Is a business frat in Cal, right?
Nah, it was the first African American fraternity that was established.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I had a few friends in Cal. I think they were in Delta Sig.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
The pre-Haas kids.
Yep.
And then Yeah, I mean, community service is a huge part of my life too. Like I'm a cancer survivor, and so
Oh wow.
um, I got really involved after I had my diagnosis and I got better. And it's like
Mm.
from 2008 to like 2012 is pretty much the entire time I was in college too. It was really important to me to kind of go out and try to get people on the national bone marrow registries
Mm-hmm.
to donate, especially for Asian Americans, because for them the gene pool is so diluted. It's really tough to get a match that's similar enough for qualified transplants.
Uh-huh.
It's like the odds for an Asian person is like 1 in 20,000 versus the odds for a Caucasian is 1 in 4
Oh wow.
to find a match. It's a huge discrepancy. So the mortality rate between leukemia patients who need transplants is just that much higher
Mm.
for Asian people versus Caucasians. And then kind of through that, I reached out and I had a few friends who were going through it, and that, unfortunately, none of them made it
Wow.
now. And so it's like it's a big part of me to keep that up. So it's one thing that I really respect about you guys, and
Right.
I think it's one thing overall that the genre is lacking.
Right.
It's all
Definitely. I didn't know that about you, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about your friends, but definitely glad that you been able to pull through.
appreciate that.
Man,
Appreciate
it's
that.
crazy. Yeah, cancer.
Cause I mean, it's
All
something,
bad.
and it's a real problem. It's like even the Roots manager just passed away from leukemia,
Yep.
and I mean, it's a real life problem, and I feel like the genre is still new in a place where it's still generally about the glitz and the glamour of coming up
Right.
versus these real life problems. So again, like I said, it's something I really respect about you guys, and I hope that it just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah. No doubt.
But let's see, back to the music and running the label. I know you guys are very staunchly against the major labels and against kind of the ideals and what they stand for. And you prefer to do everything on your own. Is that something that you see could at some point potentially hurt the growth of the label?
No, I mean we're actually in the middle, so we're not necessarily against major labels. Because some artists have the creative freedom and they have all of the flexibility that they need at the major label. So if you're in that kind of situation, then I would say more power to you because they have
Right.
a lot of resources and relationships that can help.
Right.
But if you're an artist that's getting changed and getting put in shady situations contractually, then it's got a good look. We're actually in talks with, just to get a distribution deal,
Totally.
label services deal where we'll still have complete control over what we do. We can drop an album tomorrow if we want. Nobody's touching our creative control. There's no ownership in Funk Volume or anything like that. It's just using, their resources to help distribute our music on a different level, maybe get access to some radio, some next level publicity, things like that. So of course, independent living has been a huge part of what we've promoted, and that's what we've been. But I wouldn't necessarily say I'm against major record labels. A lot of them don't get it. Like a lot of them, don't. I think they have people there that don't get music these days and artists. But there are some people within, major record labels that do. And if you get under their wing and they have influence at the label, I think you could do some amazing things too. So.
Totally. I've seen some artists go out and try to get crowdfunding for their projects, kind of selling their album before they've even made it and using that money to go out and actually make the album.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that could potentially be an alternative for a label altogether, or?
Yeah, I mean, at a smaller scale, even us, I think we're past the point of feeling comfortable doing something like that.
Right.
That's just the way I look at it personally. Even fans might look at it different. They might be happy to contribute to funding a project. But we're doing well enough financially where we don't really need to do that.
Right.
And we just hope that when we put out the music, fans support it by buying the album, and they, hopefully they think the music's good enough to buy. But I think on a smaller level, I would encourage artists to take advantage of that if they have the fan base that that will support them in that way. I've seen artists do it very successfully.
Right.
But I think we just missed the mark on it. I wish if we were like Funk Volume of 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It would have been dope to do something like that. You know, we probably could have set some type of, you know, hip hop record for, because our fans are super supportive, man.
Exactly. You got a really good core fan base.
You know, but I think we missed the boat on that one. Maybe if we're crowdfunding like a movie or something, if we get into something different, then that might be an option. But for our albums, you know, unless music sales really start declining even more, probably wouldn't consider it.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
So,
fair enough. I thought it was a cool idea just because they're getting the money, and obviously there's no corporation involved, so they're retaining full creative control over their product.
Right.
And they still got the money up front. It's kind of like a guarantee in a way.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it is, and it's really. I mean, maybe I should change the way I look at it as well, because you're really just pre-selling.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Stuff. So people aren't just handing you the money. You are promising to send them the album or download the album or different tiers. I get it. You know, so maybe I need to change the way I look at it, but I think any artist should look at it as a possibility, you know, if they're trying to fund a project. So it's nothing negative against it.
Totally. What would you say are the 5 essential songs that the labels release? Like if you were to give a brand new listener with a clean slate a 5-song primer of what the label can do, what songs would you put on there?
Let's see. I would put on I Am Raw off of Hobson's Raw album, because it really just tells the story of how Funk Volume came to be. It's not a song that gets a lot of love or that a lot of people remember from it, but it's a dope song. It's got both Hobson and Swizz on it. I would say Independent Living with Dizzy song that features Swizz and Hop. Let's see, that's 2. I would say Ill Mind 5. That was just, you know, just kind of took things to another level for Hobson. Gave him a shitload of exposure. Jaron Schizo, you know, probably his biggest record. You know, people come to identify him with that song. And let's see, 5. Maybe Dizzy's Can't Trust Him.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of songs that I like, and I just posted on Facebook last night, man. I posted, you know, You Don't Want That Love from Dizzy. You know, it's just dope to be able to be a fan of the people that you work with.
Totally.
Because I truly respect them all as artists, and I listen to them. You know, I'm in the gym, and I got Dizzy's Pandora radio station on, and, you know, I actually listen to all their music. So it's cool that that's the case.
Yeah, so. I think Dizzy is my favorite artist on the roster,
and
I don't know. I feel like Dizzy has that kind of combination of charisma. B, I think his music is spectacular. I mean, his flow and his delivery is so precise. Like I've never misses a beat, never comes off and I think he just has that star potential.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, Dizzy has that unique ability to walk the line of because there's a thin line between being positive and being corny.
Right.
You know, and I think Dizzy's able to walk that line without falling into the corny category. He's just a cool dude. He's a relatable cat. A lot of young people relate to him. You know, he's honest in his music. He's trying to uplift people in his music.
Yeah.
So I think it's dope that he's able to do that.
Yeah. Would you say that he has kind of eclipsed Hobson in a way?
No, I mean, I think it's you know, he's definitely growing. I would say Dizzy's definitely our fastest growing artist. You know, I guess it just depends on how you define being eclipsed.
That's
you know,
true.
obviously Hobson's trumping them in social metrics,
right.
You know, but that's not everything. So, you know, I'm not really worried. I don't really care to focus on that.
Right.
You know, I want them all to do well. I want them all to support each other. I want them to compete, but hopefully it's a friendly competition.
Exactly.
And they all just push each other to be better artists and to create better music. So, I don't even really care to think about it. But
enough.
but Dizzy, if things keep going the way they are now, then yes, Dizzy will probably be our biggest artist in probably a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So,
when was that? Can you talk about like your first moment after like you've just joined the label, like full time, you've committed to the label? What was like your first like aha moment and all right, this is something that is like this could be it?
right. I think even the early stuff that we were putting out, like the comments were I mean, we're getting a decent amount of views. I would say like in the tens of thousands of views.
Right.
But like the comments were, Hobson and Swizz were already kids' favorite rapper.
Right.
I didn't read into any one comment. I kept seeing it time and time again. And then at that time I was really more focused on the numbers, and I was like, okay. And I saw them gradually continue to increase. So I started feeling more comfortable that eventually we'd be able to monetize what we were doing, because really that's all it's about is growing a fan base. You get your fan base to a certain point, and you can do everything from touring or sponsorship. If you have a fan base, that's your golden ticket. If you don't have a fan base, you probably won't have a career. So
Right.
that's pretty self-explanatory. So we just focused on connecting with fans, and we just kept seeing the fan base grow. And with that came more confidence in what we were doing. So that's really what it was.
Totally. How big was Hobson's fan base when you guys established Funk Volume?
I don't know. He had a sizable presence on MySpace.
MySpace.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really say he had X amount.
Right.
Everybody, everybody's a friend on MySpace. Can't really say he was an actual fan.
Yeah.
But he definitely had a presence. He wasn't starting from zero.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Pans in the Kitchen was already, and he was on Ruthless Records. Probably means less now, but at that time it still had a little something.
Yeah. Easy's label.
Yeah. So, people identified him from there and the wide eye contacts, but he wasn't really doing too much. So
Pans in the Kitchen is probably still my favorite Hobson song. And that video too.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great video.
Yeah.
That was because I think I first saw that song in, what was it, 2009, I want to say. 2009, 2010. I was like, damn, this kid. Because Hobson has a good flow too. Hobson has a really strong flow too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I feel like bars me from all out jumping on the Hobson bandwagon is, I feel like, in my opinion, the kind of is the strategy of, all right, ignite a little controversy and then show what you got. It kind of wears thin to me a little bit. Not to say he's a bad artist or he can't rap. I mean, he can absolutely rap, but it's like, I just feel like that whole shtick it just keeps me from going from 90% to 100%.
Right.
Like that. That's just.
No, I mean, Hob is a polarizing artist. I mean, a lot of people are gonna love him. A lot of people are gonna really hate him, and everything in between. So, everybody has a different opinion on Hob. Hob does what he does. He is kind of, a controversial rapper.
Right.
So he's benefited from it. There's some consequence to it from it as well. But it doesn't seem to slow him down. So he's doing all right.
Yeah. One thing I thought was really cool though was how the Ill Mind series went from a thing where initially he was saying what he didn't like about the industry and other artists, and it went from that to kind of, again, talking about real world problems.
Right.
And kind of things that are bigger than just the music and hip hop in general. Like the most recent one was about like his thoughts on religion. And I thought, that's those kinds of conversations that I feel like is what most people have with themselves at some point in their lives. And even though that's like, in my opinion, what I would say like kind of like good controversy per se, because it's like not everyone's going to agree with what he's saying, but no one can deny that the things he's saying, it's not a conversation that they've had with themselves,
No, I think it's dope that you can use hip hop to open up that kind of dialogue, and to have those kind of discussions. You can use hip hop to have fun. You can use hip hop for humor. You can use hip hop to educate. You can use it to have dialogue. And I think we need to get a better mix back of what hip hop is used for. And I think Hop's Ill Mind definitely ignites a discussion
Totally.
that hasn't been had through hip hop, and if it has been had, not in a while.
Totally.
So I think that's cool that he did that.
Totally. What are your kind of, I guess, short-term and long-term goals for label and continuous development?
I mean, in the short term, I just want to keep pumping out quality projects. Over the long term, I hope that these guys can leave a lasting impression on hip hop.
Yeah.
I think they're just getting started. I think that 10 years down the road, hopefully people look at Funk Volume in the same way of like a Def Jam or something like that. We're going to keep bringing artists through. We're going to keep bringing different artists through that have different voices, different sounds, but really respect the craft and really can rap their ass off.
Yeah.
That's really going to be hopefully what people see. Even if you don't like Hopsin, you can hopefully recognize the talent.
Totally.
If you don't like Swizz or you think his voice is too high pitched, you can at least recognize that he was on beat and he went in, he killed it.
Right.
So
right.
That's what we want to keep doing. Keep putting out quality music. Keep being a positive influence on people, and keep branching off. Like I'm working on Funk Volume Fitness right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna launch that hopefully by the end of the year, top of next year, and that's really our health and wellness site to hopefully build a community around health and wellness, just like we've done around music. So keep using our influence from hip hop and just inspiring people to do better in whatever it is they do. Live better, live smarter, live longer, live healthier. I think we can change a lot of lives through the music.
Right.
So
looking back 3 years and the plan that you had for label growth, how closely would you say you guys went with what you expected or what you would hope for?
Man, I didn't have a 3-year plan. I don't have a 3-year plan now. It's hard to forecast with artists.
Yeah.
You can't just tell them to do something. You have to try to create the environment which they feel comfortable working in, and then they'll start being productive. I haven't mastered that yet, but in 3 years, I just every year, I look back at the end of the year and it's like, okay, are we further than we were last year? Yes. Okay, let's focus on next year. Boom.
Right.
It's that easy. It's
still
not
moving.
Yeah, exactly. Still moving. So, the consultant in me wishes that we can model it out. And okay, here, use this variable and this growth rate and this by 3 years.
Regression analysis.
Yeah. But it don't work like that with artists. You can't. You just can't. You can't. You can't force artists to create. You can't get them to do much of anything, really. So yeah, I don't look at it like that.
Totally. Where can the people find you?
Me personally, I guess you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Funk Volume. But you can find Funk Volume everywhere if you type it in Google. You can / Funk Volume on everything: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And then the website is myfunkvolume.com. So,
anything you want the people to be looking out for?
I wish I could promote something right now, but I honestly don't know what's coming out. So I know Jaren wants to put out something before the year's up. Hopefully Swizz puts something out. Hopefully we can still put out a Funk Volume 2014 track. I know that a lot of fans are disappointed that we didn't do that this year.
Oh, that's right.
So hopefully we make up for it. And we do something really dope. 5 tracks or something. 14 tracks. There you go.
Album. There's a compilation album right there.
So
that'll make people happy.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. But that would be dope. But I don't know, man. Just keep following us on Twitter and Facebook, and download our app too. We got an app now that you can get on iTunes. It's free. You listen to our music and things like that. Just kind of stay up to date with what we're doing. So yeah, we're pretty easy to find. Try to make it ourselves easily accessible. So yeah. Totally.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Cool, man. Appreciate you having me.
Appreciate you coming out. I think everybody learned a lot from all the knowledge you dropped and all of your insights, and just kind of telling us about the way you guys move and the way you conduct business. To the listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the first episode of the Talking Points podcast presented by The Smoking Section. Once again, I'm your host, Raj Anand. You can get at me on Twitter at TSS_Raj. And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thank you once again.